Welcome to Global Insiders Podcast. I am Ryan, the peripatetic one, bringing you information about opportunities relating to jobs, traveling, and any information that can elevate you to your rightful place in this thing called life. You can find more information and how to methods on globalinsidersgroup.com. That is insiders with an S. And here is today's show. Hello, insiders. Thank you for joining us once again. Today, I am pleased to have a woman who I have admired from afar because of her spirit for adventure. In fact, if you should look up the word adventure, don't be surprised if you see a smiling face there. It will be hers. Today, I'm happy to say that Natu Finau is a guest on the show, and I'm sure you will enjoy what she has to say. Hello, Natu. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Definitely. It took me forever to get you on, but now you are finally here. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Natu Finau, and I'm from New Zealand. I lived in Japan for about 5 years, and I'm currently in Australia now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. I know you like to travel, but today I really want to focus on Japan. And by the way, how many countries have you been to?
In total, I think I've been to about 13 countries.
Wow, that
Yes,
is.
I'm very blessed.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Do you mind sharing your favorite? Just telling me which one is your favorite.
I think probably Japan is up there on my top three. So Japan, Thailand, I really love, and Samoa, which is where my culture and heritage, that's where I'm from originally and where my parents are from. So that's definitely my top three, I think.
Okay, awesome. I like that. Um, so, Japan. Many persons dream of visiting Japan, but never do. How did you make this happen? How did you go about going to Japan? How did you get to Japan?
That's a very good question. It was actually by chance that I ended up flying over to Japan and working there. Um, they came, some representatives came to my university and were telling us that they are looking for assistant language teachers to go over to Japan. And the good thing about it was that you only needed a degree. You didn't have to be a teacher per se. So I was hooked. I applied and I got in and I was like, okay, great. And off I went.
Okay, so that's the Assistant Language Teaching Program, right? ALT.
Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. What was the application process like? How did you hear about? Well, you heard about it from the persons who came, but what was the process like? How long did it take you?
So from what I can remember, because I was in my last year in university when I applied, so applications close at like the end of November, as far as I know. So I had to get obviously a statement about myself. I had to get a couple of references from like school teachers or mentors or people that knew me well that weren't related to me. And then I also had to provide like a police check and things like that just so that they could prove I could prove my identity and that they knew I wasn't like a criminal or anything trying to escape the country.
That's right.
But yeah,
That's right.
it was quite daunting,
Okay.
I'd have to admit. But once everything was sent through, I felt a huge sigh of relief. Like, whew, I did it. Now it's the waiting game. I waited for a couple of months and then got an email to say that I got through to the interview stage, which was great. And when I passed that, I was on the plane within a couple of months and off to Japan. So yeah, it takes a couple of months, I think, all up.
Okay, and many documents you would say, right?
Yes, quite a few
Quite
documents.
a few
But if
documents.
you're persistent like I was, you'll get it done. No worries.
Okay, great. Is this program still available?
Yes, it is, most definitely. And very popular as well.
Okay. Do you mind sharing the name of the program?
Yeah, sure. It's called the JET program.
Okay, the
So
JET
like
program.
JET program.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. And so what surprised you about Japan? Was it,
Uh,
by the way, was it your first time going to Japan when you went for the JET program?
yes, it was my first time living away from home.
Wow.
Yes, so I graduated university and went straight to Japan
Okay.
about a month or so later.
Oh.
So it was a very very hard thing to do, challenging thing to do, but also very rewarding in the end. Um, but yeah, I think the most surprising thing about Japan was probably how welcoming and how friendly they all are, and also how clean Japan is. Japan is a beautifully clean country,
Yeah.
like spotless.
So all great signs, all great things. I mean, it wasn't like you were
Yeah, very
shocked or anything
hospitable
or
people.
yeah. Great,
That's
great.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So then what was a typical work day like?
Well, for the JET program, you'd have to start at around 8 or 8:30 in the morning. You go to your base school or wherever it is you're working that day, and there's usually a teachers meeting in the morning, so just notices and things like that. The principal or vice principal addresses the staff, and then we go on with our day. Usually there are about 6 classes each day, and of that day, I'd probably get 3 or 4 classes at the most. 5 if it's really busy, but usually 3 or 4 classes. And you're not teaching alone, you're teaching with a Japanese English teacher. It might be the same one for that day, or it might be 3 or 4 different teachers in one day. So depending on how big the school was, and where I was, there were like 400-500 students. I was teaching with quite a few Japanese teachers. Once the day was done, the students then go off to their clubs, and I went and watched a few of the clubs as well, just
Okay.
because out of interest and because I was still working on the clock. So the teachers encouraged me to go and check out all the clubs, and then after that, about 4:30, quarter to 5, I'd clock off and go home.
Oh wow.
So
Nice.
yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Um what was the most adventurous thing you did in while living in Japan? Because it sounded if you had like a really good time living in Japan. So what was the most
Yeah, I
adventurous thing you
did.
did?
The most adventurous thing is probably when I went paragliding near Shizuoka,
Yes.
like around where Mount Fuji is situated. I
Okay.
went with a couple of my friends, and it was such a great time. We had so much fun. And we camped for the weekend as well, like near Mount Fuji. So we had a great view of the mountain. It was fantastic.
Okay, that sounds really good. And how about challenges? If there were any, what was like the major challenge you faced while living in Japan?
I think with most new places that you go to live in, there will be obstacles and challenges regardless. But for me, the main thing in Japan was definitely the language barrier. Because when I went to Japan, I didn't know how to speak Japanese at all. So I was there struggling with gestures and like simple words like yes and no to try and communicate with people. So probably the biggest challenge for me was, yeah, language.
Okay, but I'm sure your smile helped you a lot.
I think it got me by, yeah.
Definitely. Um, if you could go back in time, would you do it again?
Oh, 100 times over.
A
Yeah,
hundred
without a
times.
doubt.
Nice,
I would
nice.
definitely do it again. And I would recommend it as well. Like, oh, it's such an awesome experience. And you look back on it and think, wow, I did good. So
So you
I
def
would definitely do it again.
okay, awesome. And so if a friend told you that they were planning to go to Japan to become an LT, what would you say to that friend?
Oh, pack your bags and go now. Do it. Definitely do it. It'll be worth it. Challenging, but worth it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. If persons want to reach out to you, to get some advice or so forth, how can they do so?
Yeah, just send me a message on Instagram. Just use my name, Natu Finau, NatuFinau, and you'll be able to reach me there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
thank you
on the
for
show.
having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you are inspired. You can find more helpful and motivational material at globalinsidersgroup.com. That is, insiders with an S. You can also keep in touch at Global Insiders on Instagram. See you next time, but remember, you can be your own superhero. Bye.